him. But anyway, we are now going to look at the starting grid for the Canadian Grand Prix, and on pole position it is Will Kneller once again for Mercedes, with Joseph Willows, his title rival, alongside him in second position. The second row we have Nicolas Gal for Red Bull and Florian Volker for Ferrari. The third row of the grid we have Amar Kar for Red Bull and Franco Lopez for Force India. Fourth row of the grid, 7th and 8th, we have Rick Yan for Force India and Julius Anderson for Williams. On the 5th row of the grid, 9th and 10th, we have Franco Gamma for Toro Rosso, qualifying by him, and Roland Moichin for Williams. On row 6, 11th and 12th, we have Jay McKenzie, not the qualifying he would have wanted particularly, as he's using his Canadian nationality in this race, and Michael Mocho in top position. Roberto Gamba 13th, and Thierry Now Tiernan 14th for McLaren and Renault respectively. 15th and 16th, and all British. 8th row, we have George Rowe for Haas and Etienne Jones for Manor, who is of course still racing this weekend. Evan Burns 17th, and Paolino Tomaselli 18th for Sauber and Renault respectively. Joel Hutton 19th for Sauber. No, that's not Sauber, that is Haas, as a matter of fact. And Felix Sonntag 20th for Sauber. Oliver Glazebrook 20th for Respect. But as we see, looking at the weather forecast, it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be dry at the start, but there's a 57% chance of rain coming towards the second half of the race. So it's going to be very, very interesting indeed to see what is going to happen, as we now have the 5 lights coming on for the Canadian Grand Prix. 5 lights are on. It's a very, very long hold, and we're finally underway. The OC is back. And who's going to get the jump into the first corner? It's a very short run. It looks like Willows has made a great start. He's going to go around the outside of Nella, and he's going to take the lead, looks like, into turn 2. And yes, he's going to have the run off the corner. And yes, Willows takes the lead off of Will Kneller. That's exactly the start he wanted, and not what Will Kneller wanted at all. So good start there by Joseph Willows. And he takes the lead ahead of Nella, ahead of Gal, ahead of Carr, Volker, Anderson, Lopez, Yan, Gamba, and Moich in the top 10. The rest of the cars following through. As we look at now Tiernan and Roberto Gamba side by side there. As we look through, and there's damage to cars. I think that was a Sauber missing its rear wing, I think, as we're looking on board with Felix Sonntag. And we see, oh, he runs into the back of his he's run into the back of his teammate Tomaselli. What a disastrous start for the Sauber team. And Joel Hutter also runs into the back of the Renault in front of him. That was Evan Byrne. So not a good start for those drivers either. As we're looking at the battle for the lead, this is between two possible title contenders, 3 possibly, depending on how the season goes, as Nella is all over the back of Willows. Will he try and make a move into the chicane? He's all over him, Nella. He's going to try and get the first position back, and he can't do it as Willows defends into the chicane. Doesn't get a great run out of it, so that's going to allow Nella, that's going to allow Gal as well to try and get a run off the corner. Nella now trying to go for the outside, heading towards turn 1. He's not going to do it, and Gal's going to sneak through into second, and he does so, and Nella has made probably the worst start he could possibly have imagined, losing to his title rival Willows at the start, and now losing to Nicolas Gal, second place here. You can see he was trying to go on the inside, but he did have the power, but he just didn't obviously notice that Gal was there, and Gal said, thank you very much, I'll take second place off of the British driver there, as Gal's now all over the back of the Ferrari, which of course is sporting the front wing, black front wing, or the black nose of the front wing I should say, in support of Nicolas Pascali, of course. Mackenzie has moved up into 10th. He's got past Mocha, so he's now up into the points. As Tomaselli is in the pits, and Sonntag is going to have to wait as Byrne just about gets out of his pit box there. That was a pretty awkward position for him, but for Sonntag, he's going to lose out badly. It's been a pretty disastrous season for, well, mainly for him, I guess, but for Sauber as well. It's not been great. Their best finish being 7th with Tomaselli. As we're looking at the battle, once again, raging for the lead. Nella's not dropped off of Gal at the moment, and Gal, I don't think he's quite close enough to get Willows, so he's actually going to have to try and keep Nella from overtaking him. Nella's going to try and overtake him into the chicane here. Side by side, is Nella going to make the move back into second? And the answer is, as Gal goes over the curb, and Nella does get second place back. And now Gal's under pressure from Carr, from Volker, and from the Williams there. It's almost 3 wide coming towards the first corner there, as Roland Moichin sets the fastest lap, as positions don't change there. So that was Julius Anderson trying to make a move there, as Sonntag comes out right behind these guys, so he's already a lap down on lap 3 of the race. So he's going to have it all to do if he wants to get any points today, Sonntag. As here we are looking at the replay of what just happened then. between the front runners. So Nella made the move stick. Gal went over the curves, didn't launch into outer space, fortunately, and then he had Carr all over the back of him, but then he had Volker, and then he had Anderson as well, trying to make a move, and, well, none of them made it. Volker tried to sneak, actually. Was there any contact there? I don't know. It looked to be getting a bit twitchy, coming through the corner, he did. As now Jan and Roland Moisten battling for 7th place, heading towards the final chicane, and he doesn't make it stick, so he keeps the position. So we're looking at Mackenzie trying to make it past Lopez, fails to do so. Gamba on Mocho, fails to do so. And the battle behind, as Gal has just set the fastest lap of the race, as you just saw, coming up on the graphic there. So Gal clearly does have pace, but unfortunately he's being shafted around it. Oh, contact! Bit of contact there between, that was the two Gambas, the cousins coming together there into turn 1. And so Gamba went into the back of Roberto. Unfortunately, there was no damage caused, so they can both continue on their way. But Gamba, I think, tried a late move, never really going to work on Roberto. And fortunately, I mean, that was a fairly hefty whack there, but fortunately, no damage was done. As now we're looking at this is Roberto all over the back of Mocho. Roberto Gamba, and he can't make a stick into the hairpin, so he's got to wait. Now Tiranen's there as well. Just looking at Nella, who's trying to get past Willers. He's getting close to him as they come to the chicane. And oh, Willers is in the wall! And Willers is in the wall! And Joseph Willers has thrown away what could have been a victory here today, and he is out of the Canadian Grand Prix, and that's really going to spice up the title fight now. I think it's going to be difficult for Nella to actually overtake him. I believe he has to actually finish first and hope Willers doesn't score. Well, he's not going to score now, but Nella needs to win this race if he wants to take the title lead. But Willers, you can see, just gets a little bit out of shape coming into the chain and goes a bit too wide, gets over the curves and runs into an infamous wall. I can't quite think of the name. What is it? Wall of... oh yeah, I know what it is. Wall of Champions. The Wall of Champions Willers has gone into. You can see he just misses... well, it doesn't quite miss the apex, but just gets a little bit out of shape coming off the exit of the corner. And he is out. So that's handed the lead to his title rival, Will Nella. And that's going to move Gal up into second and Carr up into third. You can see he just got a little bit too wide and bam, into the wall. And that's not good news for Willows. He could have easily kept up his good start to the season, but unfortunately, but as you said, as we're looking, oh, and Franco Gamba, has got a failure. He has got a problem, and Toros are running that special livery, that special black livery, which I have to say looks very nice, and unfortunately he is out, Franco Gamba, of the Canadian Grand Prix. Very unfortunate, as I said. Many teams running special helmets, teams running liveries. Obviously Toros is one of them, deciding to run a black livery for this race, both Franco Gamba and Michael Mocho. But unfortunately for Gamba, he is out of this race, a failure. Couldn't quite see what it was. I think it was a puncher, I believe. But as we look through the rest of the order, there's Lopez, who I believe is still ahead of his teammate, as Jan gets a little bit out of shape there coming through the chicane. That's allowed Moitin to close up to him there. Need to have a look at that again. You can see he just got a little bit twitchy through that corner. He's quite a few seconds off Anderson. He's a few seconds off him for sure. You can see he goes a little bit wide. He's lucky he didn't go over the curb and onto the grass, as Mackenzie still trying to get past Franco Lopez here, but he still can't do it. He's been stuck behind him for the entire race so far. He's going to try it into the hairpin. Is he going to try and launch on the inside? The answer is no, but he is going to be overtaken around the outside by Roberto Gamba. Look at that. Roberto Gamba coming like a snake coming out of absolutely nowhere, just slithered his way around the outside of Mackenzie, around the hairpin. Now that's definitely one of the moves of the season for sure. I don't think I've ever seen anyone go around the outside of the hairpin before. But you can see Mackenzie tried it, and he tried to go the inside. Lopez blocked him, and Roberto Gamba just said, well, hey, there's a gap, I'll take it. And look at that. Goes around the outside of Mackenzie. That's definitely one of the best moves I've seen in the OC for sure. As we look at Julius Anderson coming to the pits for his first stop for Williams, as Florian Volker now sets the fastest lap for Ferrari. So it's interesting to see. It looks to be quite closely matched between the front three, between Volker, Gal and Nello. At the moment Nello of course still leads, but anything can happen. We've still got plenty of this race to go, and of course let's not forget we've got the rain coming towards in the second half of the race. 57% chance of rain. It's over half, so it's more or less going to happen, as Jones and Roke once again battling. Glazebrook's there as well, and now Glazebrook trying to make a move into turn 1. I don't think he was close. I don't think he is able to make it stick, I don't believe, as Anderson comes out in 12th and comes out in clear air. And the answer is no, Glazebrook didn't get past Roke there. There's Joel Huss trying to recover after his after getting running into the back of Evan Byrne on the first lap. And here's Roberto Gamba, who's all over the back of Franco Lopez, but actually he's going to be pitting this lap, so it probably explains why the car is so quick. So I don't think he's going to bother overtaking Lopez because he knows he's going to have to pit anyway. He's still going to try it though. He's not going to go around the outside again. Not possible this time round. I don't think I've seen anyone go around the outside of that hairpin before. It's definitely a 1 in a million move, that. As Roberto Gamba now in the slipstream of Lopez, clearly faster than him, but he's going into the pits, so he doesn't really need to make this move on the inside. I imagine he's going to back off because he knows he has to go into the pits, and he does so. And he goes into the pits for his first stop of the race. Looks to be a 3-stopper or possibly a 2-stopper. So as he comes in to his pit box, changes all 4 tyres. Let's see how much fuel they put in. And I'd say that's probably definitely 3-stop worthy, I think. Will it work? 3 stops generally aren't the best way to go, as we've seen on many circuits, and that is very, very unfortunate. As we see Gamba coming out of the pits, as there's the battle once again raging on at the front. That looks to pretty much be, it's going to continue throughout the stops, and I would imagine throughout the rest of the race, as Mackenzie once again tries but fails to get past Lopez. He's really going to have his work cut out. He's going to have to do it in the stops, but the problem is, of course, it looks like Lopez is on a very heavy fuel load, and Mackenzie isn't, so even if when he does pit, he'll probably catch up to him by the time he stops, so who knows how that's going to turn out. As of course Nella is still leading right now, but Carr has come into the pits. He was running in 3rd position. I forgot about him actually. So it was Carr running in 3rd, Volker in 4th, but Volker now moves up to 3rd. Carr comes out of the pits, and that fuel is probably it could be a 2-stop. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out towards the end of the race. Mackenzie is not going to. Oh, that was close. As we're looking at Carr actually coming out of the pits, and Carr is going to come out behind this battle. That's not good. That's not good for him. He's come up behind this gaggle of cars that have been battling throughout the whole race so far. So Carr needs to get past these guys ASAP. And oh dear me. So that kind of rhymed actually. But as we look at Lopez under pressure from Mackenzie and now Carr, but that's the worst possible scenario that Carr could have had if he'd come out ahead of them. It would have been the best strategy really. He could have been in with a shout, but he needs to get past these guys ASAP if he wants to have any hope of winning this race. As Mackenzie once again, he tries that line into the hairpin. It's not going to work. So is he going to try now again into the final chicane? As Volker actually sets another fastest lap for Ferrari. So he's clearly got pace, Volker. So let's. I think he's definitely in with a shout here of winning this race. As Mackenzie once again now on the inside of Lopez, heading towards the final chicane. Will he finally get it done? No, he still hasn't. 15 laps later, he still hasn't got through. Roland Moichin for Williams has gone into the pits as well for his first stop of the race. So he's going to drop further down the order. As there's Michael Mottro running at the moment in 8th. Now Tiernan, there's Anderson, and Moichin comes out behind Julius Anderson, but Anderson's coming up to this gaggle of cars as well. So Moichin could be in a battle with his teammate here, as Glazebrook trying to make a move on Roke, and he can't make it stick there. That doesn't work. Now here we are. It's now been 20 laps, and Mackenzie still hasn't got past Lopez. And he's in the slipstream. Will he get it done now? He's going to move to the inside, and I don't know if he's got the power into the chicane. And no, he's done it. He's finally done it, Mackenzie, and the crowd goes wild as he finally overtakes Franco Lopez for 5th position. And now Carr, unfortunately, this is badly affecting this race. I think his chance of victory is all but over, because he's been stuck behind this ever since his stop, and this is going to severely affect his pace, as we saw Lopez there going across the chicane. As we look at Florian Volker coming in for his first stop, maybe he's going to try and do an undercut on the drivers in front of him, that being Gal and Nella. So he's going to come out, I think, in clear air, which is crucial. And yet there's pretty much no cars around him at all, which once again proves the pace of Franco Lopez on the one-stop strategy. So that's good news for Volker. So we need to see when Gal and when Nella come in. So as we look at Lopez, severely under pressure from Carr. Will he try and make a move into the first corner? He's going to try and go to the outside there. That's not going to work, so just cut him off. Tries to dive on the inside there, doesn't work either. So he's being held up severely, is Carr, and the gap to Volker is quite big now. So as we're looking, and now Miklos Gau actually is going to be pitting this lap, so he's going to try the undercut over Will Nella, who has actually stretched his gap to a couple of seconds. So Nella has finally managed to flex his muscles a little bit, but now this is where it's going to get interesting, the pit stop stage. So Gal comes in immediately into his pit box and changes all 4 tyres, and that's definitely going to be, that's quite a heavy fuel load, so that's definitely going to be a 2-stopper. So let's not forget the rain is coming later on, so who knows, it's meant to be light rain, but it's still it's going to get heavier towards the end, so we will very much see, as there's Gal and there's Volker actually just coming across the line. So I think Gal is going to come out ahead of Volker, and the answer is yes, and and there it is. There was that dodgy pit exit once again, but fortunately for Gal, I think that, well, there was contact, but fortunately he has not gone into the wall, so he has stayed ahead. As now, speaking of going ahead, Carr has finally got past Franco Lopez. It's taken him about 7 laps, but he's finally done it, and so there we go. So we'll see what happens. So he's well behind Lopez, but Lopez didn't get a very good run. Oh, he nearly hit the wall. Got a terrible run out of the final chicane there, and yep, just slips wide, and he's very lucky. I think he does actually, I think, make a tiny bit of contact with the wall, but not enough to break the car. But that was enough for Carr to get a better run, and yet there was definitely a bit of contact with the wall there, but fortunately doesn't damage the car. But fortunately for Carr, he manages to pass the car of Franco Lopez for that position. So as we're looking at Gal and Volker at the moment, 3rd and 4th on the track, but that will soon change. So when is Will Nella going to come in? Right now is the answer to that question. So Will Nella comes in. Will he come out ahead of Gal and Volker? Well, will he come out ahead of Gal? And if not, will he come out ahead of Volker? We'll see. So he changes all 4 tyres, and that's going to be clearly a 2-stopper. A bit less fuel than Gal, as he's set to come out of his pit box. And oh no, he's not. Oh, he's had to wait for the Force India. He's had to wait for the Force India of Rick Yan to go by, and will that affect his chance of getting out in front? And there's Gal, and there's Volker, and they're going to go past him. So Will Nella is going to lose the lead of this race and lose 2nd as well. And Rick Yan and Gal will be saying a big thank you to, well, and Volker as well, a big thank you to Yan after this race. And Will Nella has been jumped by both Gal and Volker here, but it wasn't, well, I don't know how you can say it, but it was by Rick Yan. Rick Yan was the reason why Will Nella has not got out in front. Yan comes in. I think he still could have got out in front. There was still a bit of time there, but clearly not. And that's badly affected Will Nella. And so he comes out in 3rd position. And Yan just comes out in front of Jay McKenzie there for P4. And as Franco Lopez goes wide into the first corner. And oh no! Oh, and he's gone into the side of Tiravi now, Tiranen. And unfortunately for him, he just hasn't had the luck this season. He's shown signs of very encouraging pace, but at all, the wheel gets hit there by something who, luckily, I don't know how, but he doesn't get damage. So that's very, very lucky indeed. But a big shame for Tiravi now, Tiranen. And Lopez, you can see, locks up, goes wide, struggling on the tyres, and just comes back onto the track right into the path of now Tiranen, who had nowhere to go. Unfortunate being at the wrong place at the wrong time. And so Franco Lopez now does come into the pits for his unscheduled first stop, but I bet he thinks that it's definitely a scheduled one, judging by his pace after that. But yeah, now Tiranen, he's shown encouraging. He's had some great races this season, but unfortunately his car has let him down more often than not, or he's had bad luck, and that being one of the big examples of bad luck that he's suffered. So that's him out of the race. Here are the 2 Williams cars. This is Anderson and Roland Moitian. Anderson, who just came out ahead of Moitian after, well, he was ahead of him, and Moitian came out just behind him after the stops, and these two have been behind each other the entire time. Nothing has really moved these guys. As Mocho's coming to pit, so has Joel Hutter, and So we can have a look at why. So Mocho coming through. This was, I think, the incident with Nautrin, was it? Oh, that's why. So he hits the wheel, sorry, of Nautrin and loses his front wing. So that is the reason why Mocho's had to pit again. So that's very unfortunate for him. It's just not been a good race for Toro Rosso, unfortunately, with their black livery. I mean, I personally think it's a really good one. Good job that has been done on that. As we look at Mackenzie coming out of the pits, so he's going to be pitting once more before the end. His race being kind of stuffed really by the Force India of Lopez. So here we are looking. This is the battle. This is between Roque and Roberto Gamba. As Roberto Gamba is going to go around the outside of... Wow, that's unbelievable. He's done it again. And Roberto Gamba has gone around the outside of another driver, but this time at turn 1. And I've never seen anyone go around the outside of anyone at turn 1. I mean, yes, you could say Roque did lock up into the first corner, but still, how he's managed to do that is pretty unbelievable. Let's look at it again. So, Roque went to the inside, and so nearly contact between the two. I mean, and people will say it may not be as good as the other one because Roque locked up, but even so, that's a pretty impressive move. I don't think I've seen anyone go around the outside of turn 1 to make a move like that before. So Roberto Gamba has made 2 overtakes of the season in one race, and Roque after that has thought it would be a good idea to change his tyres. So in he comes for his first stop, changes all 4 tyres, and he now comes out of his pit box. So let's see where he comes back out onto the track. He comes out just outside of the points, and now he can finally go back to full power. And so where will he come out? There's a car coming out of the corner there, and oh no, that is Etienne Jones. That's Etienne Jones, who's been stuck behind for the entire race, and he's stuck behind him once again. The only good thing is he'll be on fresher tyres, but that's not what Roque wanted at all. And that's bad news for him. He's been stuck behind him for the entire race, and now Glazebrook is on his tail as well. And those 3 have been, I said, together the whole race, and I've said the whole race a lot, but that is how it's happened. That's all you could say, really. Roberto Gamba is coming out of the pits, and there's a Force India coming through there. Let's hope there's not going to be a collision, and looks like there wasn't. Carr, very fortunate for Amar Carr, where he came out after his first stop, comes in for his second stop. It clearly won't be his last, as he's going to be making one more before the end. And yes, he does. He'll be making one more stop before the end of this race. So he'll be going hammer and tong on these tyres before, I suppose, his last stop. And that depends when the rain comes. It depends, obviously, how hard it's going to be. The rain is going to be light, but it depends how far they've gone through this race, if they'll need to go onto the wet tyres or not. So that will be coming up later on. So we'll have to wait and find out when the rain does come, as we're looking at the 2 Williams once again fighting with each other. Here's Roque, who's now trying to overtake Jones into the hairpin, and can't make it stick there, so you have to wait until the back straight. Oh, never mind! And Jones has just gone into the wall, and Etienne Jones is out of the race, and that is very, very unfortunate for him, as he was in a promising position for some points. Fortunately for Jones, I should say. He is going to be getting nothing from this race, and there wasn't any contact from behind, so as we look at him coming through, so he went a little bit deep into the corner there, and yeah, just went just a little bit deep, and unfortunately that is that. And so Jones is out of the race, as we're looking at Moitin and Anderson coming through, and and Anderson has hit the wheel. I thought I noticed the wheel was still on the track, and Julius Anderson has had to come into the pits to replace that wing from hitting that wheel, and that's poor from him. That's very unlucky. Well, not poor from him. I guess he was unlucky, but unfortunately for Anderson, his season has not gone too well so far, and he was running in a pretty promising position. I mean, I think he'll still get points, but unfortunately I don't think he's going to finish ahead of his teammate Moitin, which I suppose he would have definitely preferred, as Moitin has definitely had the upper hand on him on his return to the OC, of course. Julius Anderson, from winning DTM last season, and despite not winning a race as well. As we're looking at the front 2 at the moment, Gal's got a 1.7 second lead of Volker. Nella is getting pretty close to the back of Volker in second place. At the moment, Gal he's got the pace, obviously, and Nella hasn't quite got enough of the pace to get Volker, it seems. I mean, there has been a bit of traffic, which I think they've had to negotiate, but even so, it's going to be fascinating to see when we come up to the rain. That's what I'm really looking forward to. As Glazebrook, once again, as we saw, all over the back of Roke there, not able to make the move stick. As Nella, he's about a second off at the moment, as Rademoitian himself has come into the pits for his second stop. So I don't know if he'll be going to the end or not. It would be a tough ask if he did, but we'll see. Well, I don't know if we'll be able to see his fuel or not. So we're looking at Joel Hutter for Haas. The Swiss driver running in 15th position at the moment, as Moitian does come out, and Franco Lopez has received a 25-second time penalty for causing the incident with now Tyrrell, so that's going to severely affect where he's going to finish at the end of the race. But Moitian has come out ahead of Julius Anderson, so he's done, you could say, the overcut on him, and he's come out in front. But I think that battle could still continue on for the rest of the race. As we look at Glazebrook once again chasing Roke. He's been chasing him for 40 laps. There's no other way of putting it. He's been chasing him for that race, for that time during this race, and he's just not quite close enough to make a move at the moment. There's Franco Lopez. At the moment, he's in 10th position, but actually he doesn't have to pit again, I don't believe, until the end. I couldn't quite see his fuel then, but he did make the stop. But actually he made it quite early, so I think he might actually have to pit. Not sure. Didn't quite see his fuel there, but never mind. Mocho coming out of the pits for his final stop of the race. The rain so far has not yet come, and we've got 17 laps to go. The track still seems pretty dry, so the rain must be coming in a couple of minutes or any time now. As we look at Franco Lopez in 10th, and that was like 20 laps of fuel, so I think Lopez actually is going to the end. He's not pitting. As we look at Will Nella, who's coming in for his final stop of the race, he is now going to try and see if he can undercut Volker, but also try and undercut Gal as well, depending when they come in. I think they'll be coming in probably a lap or so's time, so he's really got to put the hammer down as he comes out of the pits. He's going to be coming out in, it looks like, pretty much clear air, although actually there is a Force India. Well, there's two Force Indias, two Pink Panthers, who are coming around, heading towards turn 1 and 2. As Nella comes through, Jan is in P3 right now, and oh no! Oh, and well, it hasn't happened yet, and it has finally happened. And well, I'm just saying about the Force Indias, commentator's curse right there, and oh dear me, Rick Jan and Wunella out of this race, and that means that the battle is going to go down between Florian Volker and Miklas Gal for the win. Oh no. Yeah, I mean, it always happens nearly every year, that pit exit. It's always really dodgy, and an incident has finally happened as all the cars go through, and Wunella and Rick Jan, particularly Rick Jan, he was having a fairly quiet race, and unfortunately he is now out of the Grand Prix as well. And oh no, Julius Anderson yet again! Julius Anderson yet again, he just can't catch a break. He gets stuck behind the car of Rick Jan there, as he finally gets pushed away. But I was just talking about the two Force Indies. Rick Jan actually was going to be pitting in a couple of laps' time for the final stuff of the race. He was probably going to come out. He was in a battle really with Mackenzie actually to see where they were going to finish. As we look at Julius Anderson, he passes Nella, but then he comes across the car of Rick Jan, and unfortunately is in the way. He pushes it out of the way and gets through in the end. Mackenzie now comes out from his final stop of the race. It would have been interesting to see how the battle between him and Rick Jan would have gone. As we look at Moitian lapping the Haas there, coming through turn 1. At the moment, Moitian's running in P4 right now, so that's a pretty impressive performance by him. Having, of course, come out, having had that battle with Julius Anderson, which he has come out on top of, although quite fortuitously, let's say. But as we look at Miklas Gal coming in, and that is Florian Volker coming in as well on the same lap. So Volker's decided not to try and do the overcut or the undercut. So of course Gal comes out ahead of Volker, but now the battle is on. 13 laps to go. Who is going to win this race? Will it be Red Bull or will it be Ferrari? Of course, for Miklas Gal, this would be his first victory of the season. And he only took, I think, one victory last season. I can't remember the race off the top of my head. but he took one race win last year, and he wants to win another one. As Carr, actually, he's running in third, is going to be pitting once more before the end. Julius Anderson is coming to the pits for his final stop of the race as well. As we look at him coming through the penultimate chicane, as he now heads towards the final chicane. Well, he's heading towards the hairpin now, but Luka Volker, who's currently behind Gal at the moment, so it's looking, Gal at the moment has got the pace, it seems, over Volker. And so far we are yet to see any rain, with 10 laps to go, although the track actually does look a little bit darker there. So I mean, come to think of it, it might actually have just started raining funnily enough. So Gal at the moment has got the gap to Volker, and he's got past 2 lap cars, and Volker's going to get past them as well. So at the moment, Gal is controlling this. It's looking pretty good for him right now. As Carr comes out of the pits, oh, he's been held up as well. He's been held up by the Haas of Joel Hutter there, and Rudolf Moiten has actually come in for his final stop of the race as well. So that's not good news for Carr, and I wonder if he's going to come out behind Mackenzie or not. I'm not sure what the gap was between the two, but as we look at Hutter coming out of the pits, and oh, there is the rain. It has officially come. You can clearly see the spray, although it's wet at that part, but it's certainly wet, it seems, in the first sector. As we look at Mocho, who's struggling. He's really struggling on those dry tyres, and well, I imagine everyone is really. And as I was saying, Carr has come out behind Mackenzie, so I think if Carr hadn't been held up there, he definitely could have jumped Mackenzie, I would say, or stayed ahead of him at least. But here we are on the final lap of the race, and here is your race leader, Miklos Gau. Not had the greatest of seasons, but this is one of the ways that he's going to get himself back into what could be a title fight. The gap to Volker, 3 seconds behind him. He's got a whole host of black cars behind him, but he doesn't need to lap them. He just needs to get to the end of the race to get his first victory of the season. This is exactly what he needed to be. He's definitely been outshone so far by Armar Carr, I would say. As we're looking at Gal coming through the hairpin for the final time. There's a big battle for 11th place there. That's between Hutter and Mocho, although Hutter needs to get past the car of Felix Sontag. But Gal, he's been in a battle with Wilner all race. He eventually came out on top after the stops, and he's generally had the pace over Volker. He's resisted any challenge that he's had, and that's crucially for him the reason why he won this race, as he comes around the final corner, and Miklos Gau is going to win the Canadian Grand Prix. A fantastic result for him, and a great performance as well. Volker comes across the line in second position. Roberto Gamba, a very impressive 6th place for him for McLaren. Evan Byrne in 13th position. Julius Anderson takes another 7th place finish for himself. That's his 2nd of the season. Paolino Tomaselli is going to come across the line in 14th position for Sauber. Not the race he would have wanted after, unfortunately, getting hit by Sontag on the first lap. So that's very disappointing for both Sauber drivers. So at the moment, Franco Lopez is in 8th position, and that's where he's going to come across the line, but that's not necessarily where he will finish. We need to see what the gap is behind as he comes to the final chicane. So at the moment, he's going to come across the line in 8th position. The gap to Glazebrook is about 14 seconds, so he's going to drop to 9th position, as Mackenzie does take 3rd place in front of his home crowd. Carr comes across the line in 4th. So Glazebrook is going to take 8th place, and this is actually Glazebrook's first points finish of the season. He really needed that. So he's 9th, but he'll move up to 8th. And Roke, I believe, what's the gap? 7 seconds, you can see it down there. So Roke, I think, is going to take 9th place as well. So Lopez is going to drop down into 10th position. Roland Moiten came across the line there in 5th place. Mocho, I don't think he's close enough to get a point. Hutter in 12th. Sontag, the final car across the line there in 15th. So there we are, that's the race over. So we'll take a look at the full race results, drivers and constructor standings. So the full race results: Miklos Gau winning ahead of Florian Volker 2nd, Jamie Mackenzie 3rd, Armar Carr 4th, Roland Moiten 5th, Roberto Gamba 6th, Julius Anderson 7th, Oliver Glazebrook 8th, George Roke 9th, and Franco Lopez 10th. Lopez dropping down behind Roke and Glazebrook. Michael Mocho finishing in 11th position. The fastest lap being set by Miklos Gau. As we look at the rest of the order, Joel Hutter, Evan Byrne, Paolino Tomaselli, Felix Sontag. The last cars to finish this race with Rick Yan, Will Neller, Etienne Jones, Tiravi now Tiranen, Franco Gamba and Joseph Willows, the cars who did not finish this race. That was the race results. We'll now take a look at the drivers and the constructor standings. So the gap now down to just 10 points, from Willows to Volker. Amakar moving up into 3rd place out of Warnella in 4th. Minglascal moving up to 5th. Jay McKenzie up to 6th. Rick Yan, Franco Lopez, Michael Mocho and Roda Moiti moving up into 10th, completing the top 10. Franco Gamba down to 11th position. As we look at the rest of the order, now Turner in 12th, Burn in 13th, Roberto Gamba moving up to 14th, Broke in 15th, Anderson moving up to 16th, Joel Hutter down to 17th, Tomaselli 18th, Glazebrook 19th, Pascali, Sontag and Jones completing the rest of the points. But for Glazebrook, a much needed points finish, and he, let's remind ourselves, he actually came from last on the grid as well, so a good result from Oliver Glazebrook, a good performance by him. In the constructor standings, Ferrari still leading, ahead of Red Bull by 42 points, Mercedes 21 points behind in 3rd, Force India 4th, Toro Rosso 5th, Williams moving up to 6th ahead of Renault in 7th, Haas 8th, McLaren moving up to 9th ahead of Sauber in 10th, and Manor last on 11 points. But that was the Canadian Grand Prix, a pretty decent return to racing. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to add your vote for your driver of the day and give the race a rating out of 10. And we'll see you for the next round, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, the first ever, might I add, Azerbaijan Grand Prix at Baku, having been previously named the European Grand Prix. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you there.